It started on a Tuesday morning, the kind of morning where the light is soft and the air smells like coffee and car exhaust. Camille Rhodes had been up since dawn, driving to the courthouse for a docket she'd been preparing for months. She wasn't dressed like someone important, plain navy blazer, hair pulled back in a loose bun, no makeup beyond a bit of chapstick. She looked like any woman heading to work. That was the point. She liked to blend in to move through the world without the weight of her title showing. She stopped at a crowded intersection in Oakdale Heights. A kid darted across with a backpack bouncing on his shoulders, and she braked smooth, steady, both hands on the wheel. A simple human act. But the screech of a police whistle behind her tore the moment apart like paper. A tall cop stepped into the road, palm out, eyes narrow. Another emerged from a patrol car smirking. "Lady," the first one barked, "what do you think you're doing? Holding up traffic like that?" Camille rolled her window down. Voice calm, there was a child crossing. That answer should have ended it, but it didn't. A third man climbed out of the squad car, heavy-set, square jaw, eyes that moved like blades cutting the crowd. Sergeant Ray Maddox, the guy who thought his badge gave him the right to narrate people's lives. He smiled the way some men do when they smell fear. "Why would someone like you care about the law?" he said, stepping closer. "You people always got an excuse." Camille held his gaze. "Excuse, yeah," he sneered. "Pretend like you're responsible while you clog up my street." The crowd had begun to gather, phones angled just so. Maddox leaned down to her window, tilting his head. "Standard's not a skin color," she said quietly. He laughed, brittle and sharp, a sound like gravel. "Standard is the badge," he said, tapping his chest. "And you're about to learn where you belong." He motioned to his partner. In seconds, her door was yanked open. Hands twisted behind her back, the cold hood of her own car pressed against her ribs. She could smell the polish on their leather belts, the faint reek of arrogance rising off their skin. Someone in the crowd muttered, "This is messed up," but nobody moved. They searched her purse, pulled out papers, snickered at her Bible, held it up like a trophy. "Rental car," one of them said. "Probably fake paperwork, too." She didn't fight. She didn't plead. Inside her chest, a steady voice whispered, "Let them show the world who they are." Across the street, an older man with a newsstand lifted his trembling flip phone recording. A young reporter named Naomi leaned against a lamppost phone, aimed steady. Deputy Tyler Ricks, younger than the rest, standing off to the side, glanced at his chest cam. The little red light blinked like a heartbeat. He'd been told to keep it on. He knew it was streaming. Maddox didn't care. He leaned in close to Camille's ear. "You think quoting statutes puts you on my level?" She turned her head slightly, her voice low but clear. "You're indicting yourself." For a split second, his face twitched, a flicker of something like doubt, then hardened again. "Teach her a lesson," he snapped at Ricks, but Ricks hesitated. The crowd had grown thicker, the phones more obvious. Naomi's lens glinted. The newsstand man's hand steadied. Maddox barked, "Turn that thing off," pointing at the blinking cam. Ricks didn't move. Sweat gathered at his temples. He knew the footage was already being archived downtown. He thought about his training, the warnings about shutting a body cam off. Camille watched him with a look that wasn't begging. It was a reminder. "You know what's happening," she said, steady as stone. The crowd murmured. Someone whispered, "It's recording." Maddox raised his voice, trying to drown her out. "High seats are for white men." Only his partner muttered, almost proud of it. The words cracked across the street like a slap. People gasped. Even Maddox flinched at the bluntness, but then smirked as if to double down. Camille's wrists burned in the cuffs, but her face was calm. "A badge doesn't teach justice," she said, "and when it's used to humiliate, it's just cheap metal." Phones rose higher. Naomi caught every word. Somewhere in a control room, a technician hit the lock button on the feed, filing it as level red. Maddox stepped closer, eyes bloodshot. "Get on your knees," he hissed. "Learn to be silent." Camille raised her head. "I stay silent, and you expose yourself." The laughter around them faltered. A young woman covered her daughter's eyes. A boy in a baseball cap muttered, "This isn't law enforcement. This is payback." And then Camille did what no one expected. She reached into her coat pocket and slowly pulled out a badge. Not a police badge, but a hard-edged, gold-embossed federal ID. "Camille Rhodes, United States federal judge." She said, voice ringing like a bell, Tomorrow I will preside over the hearing into your department's abuse complaints. The street went silent. The officers froze. Maddox's face drained of color. His partner's mouth closed, opened again. Phones caught the exact moment power flipped. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Then the crowd erupted, gasps, shouts, the beginning of chants. Someone yelled, "We know her." Another shouted, "Justice for Camille." Naomi snapped a photo of Maddox staring at the badge, eyes wide. Within seconds, it was online, captioned simply, "Federal Judge. Witness this." That night, the photo went viral. The old newsstand man uploaded the full uncut clip, cuffs, slurs, and the badge reveal. Within hours, the hashtag We Stand With Camille trended across the country. People showed up at the precinct carrying candles and cardboard signs. Justice has no color. We saw everything. Maddox tried to fight back, calling an old media contact to paint Camille as an arrogant judge who bullied cops. But the video was too clear. His words, his partner's slurs, the body cam footage, Naomi's photos, all of it lined up like a case file. Meanwhile, inside the department, Ricks anonymously sent the radio logs to a federal prosecutor named Adrian Ward. It listed every order Maddox barked that day. Adrian opened the files, fists clenching. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a pattern. By the weekend, a subpoena forced the department to hand over every second of body cam footage. Payroll records leaked. Payments from local elites to Maddox surfaced online. Then came audio of his partner at a private club bragging about order being bought through relationships, not law. Each new leak fed the fire. Naomi wrote her exposé, Faces Behind the Badges, linking Maddox and his patron network to years of vanished complaints. She published it at dawn. By noon, the courthouse steps were covered in reporters. And through it all, Camille stayed quiet. She didn't give interviews, didn't tweet, didn't turn herself into a hero. She just prepared for the hearing. When the day came, she walked up the courthouse stairs in that same navy blazer, no makeup, hair back. Protesters lined the sidewalks chanting her name. Rick slipped through a side door carrying a thin envelope of evidence. Naomi filmed the crowd. Adrian Ward stepped inside with a file thick as a phone book. Everyone knew this wasn't just about one traffic stop anymore. It was about a system that had hidden behind badges and missing files. Inside the hearing room, Maddox tried to act composed, but his eyes darted to the cameras. His partner stared at the floor. Chief Reeves sat stiff, jaw locked. Camilla looked at them all, then at the public gallery packed with citizens. She didn't speak of vengeance. She spoke of the law. Peace built on humiliation isn't peace. She said it's a shackle. Outside, the chants rolled on, mixing with sirens and TV anchors' voices. Hashtags multiplied, videos looped. People argued on street corners and online threads. Some defended the cops. Others called for a purge. It became bigger than one city, a national question about power and race and the thin line between order and abuse. Camille knew not everyone would see her as a hero. Some would call her reckless. Some would call her brave. But she also knew that silence had broken. The cameras had multiplied. The truth was out. And as the sun dipped behind the courthouse, turning the windows gold, she thought of the boy with the backpack, the old man with the trembling phone, the young reporter with steady hands, the conflicted deputy who chose to let the cam run. Ordinary people, each holding a piece of the story. Together they'd tip the scale. She didn't smile when the gavel came down. She just exhaled like someone who'd been holding her breath for years. She knew this wasn't the end. It was a beginning. Now I want to hear from you. If you were standing in that crowd, would you pull out your phone? Would you speak up? Would you trust the system to catch up with the truth? Or would you believe the badge over the person? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us where you're watching from and what justice means to you. Because this story isn't just about Camille or Maddox or a single city. It's about all of us deciding what we're willing to stand for and whether silence still wins or whether we do.